What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Now, I know this is a video that most of you that watch my channel have been waiting for because it is another Buffy video. Now, I already filmed this episode previously, but then when I came to edit it, I just realized that the lighting was so bad because it was such a cloudy day when I filmed it, and I just didn't want to put out something that wasn't great quality, because I know that could probably be quite distracting if the lighting or the sound is bad, and I didn't want to do that. So I am refilming it. But yeah, it's a new year. Like I said, more Buffy videos this year. I want to really put my attention and focus on the Buffy videos and more entertainment videos. So if you want to see me do more film reviews, TV show reviews, let me know in the comments what shows or films you would like to see from my channel. But today I have my tea, so I suggest before we get into the video you grab a tea as well, or a coffee or a snack, and we will be reviewing season 1 episode 9 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is called The Puppet Show. Now, in this episode, it's basically the annual talent show at Sunnydale High School, where all the students, well, not all the students, but most of the students can get involved and show off their talents. And this time we have a new principal at the school who basically forces Giles to sort of take control of the talent show, but then also makes the Scooby Gang join the talent show as well, because they really didn't want to, and he sort of forces them into it. And the talent show basically plays a backdrop to all the spooky murderous things that will happen in this episode, where we find out someone is stealing organs basically, and yeah, it's just a whole lot of fun and creepiness. And again, as I mentioned before, takes us away from the vampire side of things. As we know, in season 1, it's definitely very much about experimenting with different themes and things like that. So let me know what you thought about this episode, and if you thought it was a good episode, or if you thought that it was too far away from what you're used to with Buffy in terms of the vampires and stuff like that. We see Cordelia auditioning or singing Whitney Houston's song Greatest Love of All, and of course she is terrible, but it is Cordelia, so she thinks she's literally the best singer on this planet, which obviously she's not. And Giles stops her because he just doesn't want his ears hurting anymore from her singing, and rightly so, because she's not that great. And then we see Buffy and Willow all mock Giles for having to obviously take this new role as part of the talent show. The new principal, Snyder, overhears them mocking the talent show, mocking Giles and things like that, and as a form of punishment he makes them now have to be involved in the actual talent show as well, which, yeah, we can already see that their relationship has not got off to a great start with the principal and Buffy and the whole Scooby Gang, so he's really going to be on their case just for basically making fun of the talent show. Is Sid and his dummy. Now he's obviously going to do a ventriloquist act where he's obviously talking for the dummy and so on. I'm sure you'll know what that is. And Buffy obviously says that she's afraid of dummies, and obviously doesn't like the fact that this is part of the talent show. But then the act turns out for the better, because we realise that the dummy now has a personality of its own, and everyone is so impressed at the fact that Sid is doing such a good job, where you can't even tell that he's doing the voice for the dummy, whereas obviously, as we will find out, there's something more to it. But at the moment everyone's, you know, really impressed at the fact that it seems that this dummy has its own personality, and it's almost like the person that's controlling him is not even doing anything. The show continues with Mark, who is a very unsuccessful, if that's the best way to put it, unsuccessful magician, who's obviously doing his act, and he actually thinks he's quite good and talented, whereas he's not very good. And then we see Buffy, Xander and Willow debate what they can do for their talent show. Obviously we know Buffy has a lot of talent when it comes to being the Slayer, but it's like, what can she do outside of that that will be a talent, I guess. She's not gonna, you know, be on stage killing vampires and stuff like that, but maybe we see her use that as her talent moving forward. And then we see Sid watching the talent show and he's making rude comments as he does. And then Morgan's basically explaining that this is the voice of his father, and that's sort of the imitation of his father, what Sid is doing basically. But again, it's kind of weird that it looks like he's not mouthing anything, but Sid is obviously just taking control and taking his own personality, and it's basically outshining Morgan. So people, I don't think, are completely believing everything Morgan said. Then we see Snyder basically explaining to Giles that he will be running a more safer school where everything is under his control. It won't be the same as their previous principal, and everyone will actually be following rules in this school, and nothing weird or bad will happen under his watch, only to be rudely interrupted by Emily, who's one of the girls auditioning for the talent show. Her dead body just appears, and the timing of him explaining this and her body appearing is like, okay, Snyder, you're basically a principal at the Hellmouth at Sunnydale High School, and you think that weird things aren't going to happen at the school. Scoobies are basically debating if the murderer of Emily's body is human or if it's a demon, because obviously they're at the school and they haven't noticed any weird evil stuff happening, so it's almost like, could it be human or could it be evil? And then it kind of goes to Willow's comment about if it was a human killer, that would be worse and creepier and scarier, just because it could be anyone. It's almost that scream factor of who did it. It could be anyone, it could be a friend, it could be a teacher, it could be, you know, that guessing game. Whereas if it's a demon, it's a little bit more like, okay, we can, well, Buffy can kill the demon and that'll be it. Whereas when it's a human, it's a little bit more scarier because you don't know who done it. Then the Scoobies basically split up and start interviewing everyone at the talent show, because it happened at the talent show, so their first point of contact or suspicion would be someone that was there, or at least someone at the talent show might have seen what had happened. So they start interviewing everyone, and from their interviews they kind of point to the direction of it being Morgan and Sid the dummy, only because I think Morgan comes across as being very weird and reserved, and obviously his dummy is kind of creepy, just because we know that Sid has made really snarky comments, and it kind of points to, oh, maybe there could be something weird going on there. Obviously they, at this point, they don't know that there's anything weird with Sid. It's more so that maybe this kid Morgan is a little bit creepy, because he likes to talk to his dummy. I don't know what it is, but maybe that's why they were pointed in that direction. And Sid does give off really weird vibes. So when I first watched this episode, I kind of thought maybe it was Sid, just because he was making obviously rude comments and things like that, and there was something weird going on with him and Morgan as well. And it's almost like people like watching it would think that Sid is controlling Morgan and Morgan isn't controlling Sid. So I think that's where everyone kind of put their focus on him. And then the Scooby Gang decide to check Morgan's locker, because I think to them they think they might find something in his locker that points to him actually being the person that did that to Emily. So we see Buffy basically breaking in to his locker, and then Snyder catches Buffy doing that, but it's like, okay, it's after hours, you're not supposed to be on school premises. after hours, what are you doing here? And he basically tells her to leave and yeah, punishes her for obviously doing that. Then we see that Morgan and Sid are watching Buffy as she is breaking into Morgan's locker, and then Sid makes a comment that Buffy is the one. Now if that means the chosen one or what he means by that, but based on her strength of being able to just break into the locker and stuff like that, he obviously questions that she has this strength that most normal teenage girls would not have, and therefore is, as we know, the chosen one. But now Sid is saying that to Morgan as well, so it's almost like they know about that, whereas obviously other students wouldn't. So it points to a direction of how do they know who the chosen one is, and what the chosen one is if they're just regular, if Morgan's just a regular high school kid. Then we cut to Buffy in her bedroom going to sleep, and then we see Sid sneak into Buffy's room. I don't know what he's trying to do at this point. It almost feels like he's going to murder her, I don't know, but he's in her room, which is really creepy. And then as Buffy wakes up, Sid just basically escapes, gets out of the room. And as Buffy's trying to explain that to the Scooby Gang, I don't think they believe her that Sid would have done that, because at this point, like I said, they don't know that he's possessed by anything, and they just think he's a dummy that's being controlled by Morgan. So it's like, how is this dummy in your room by himself if Morgan wasn't there? The teacher confiscates Sid from Morgan, and then we see Xander steal Sid, so it gives Buffy time to speak to Morgan alone away from Sid, because like I said, they feel that maybe Sid is controlling Morgan, and if he's there then Morgan's not going to open up about anything, whereas if he's not there, maybe they might get some kind of answer from him. And then Snyder obviously catches Buffy in school when she's not supposed to be there. And then we cut to the library where Willow is doing her research, and she finds out information about dummies needing human organs to become humans themselves. And as we know that obviously Emily's heart was taken, and now the next thing would be finding a brain. So it's almost like once they get that from a different student, their harvest will be complete and they have everything that they need to become human. And that's why everything is now in the direction of it might be Sid, because he needs those human organs to become human, and not a dummy anymore. And then we see that Sid is gone, so it's no longer under Xander's supervision. Literally the minute that Xander doesn't pay him attention, Sid disappears. And then Buffy finds Morgan's body now, missing a brain. So as I just mentioned, they already had a heart from Emily, and now he's missing a brain from Morgan. So it's almost like, is this everything that Sid now needs to finish maybe a ritual or whatever it is that he's going to do to become human? And just as Buffy finds Morgan's body, a chandelier from the ceiling drops on her, and we know that somebody's obviously out to get her, and doesn't want her finding all the information and stopping them. And then as she wakes up, we see that Sid is now fighting her. So she's basically fighting this little dummy that obviously has his own personality. But as they're fighting, they both realise, hold on, are we both on the same side here? Are we both after the same goal? I mean, Sid's friend, companion, whatever you want to call him, is now dead, and he's obviously out to find who's doing this. Buffy's out to find who's doing this, and they put two and two together and they're like, maybe we're on the same team here, maybe we should work together. And yeah, this whole time, this is what I like about this episode, is this whole time the audience thinks that there's something creepy going on with Morgan and Sid, and that Sid might be this evil dummy who wants to basically become human, and he's using obviously Morgan to do that. And then later on in the episode we realise that maybe we were wrong, and there's actually someone or something else that we should be now figuring out what they're trying to do, because Sid is actually not the bad guy. So like I said earlier, it gives me that Scream vibe of, rather than it being who did it with the teenagers, it's who did it with, is it Sid? And then we realise, oh no, we were actually misled and it's not Sid, it might be somebody else. And then once they stop fighting, Sid basically has a chance to explain to Buffy that he is actually a demon hunter who has been cursed as a dummy until he basically kills the last of the Brotherhood of the Seven. And until that point, he will always be a dummy, but once he's done that, then he will be free finally, and that is his goal. That's what he's basically trying to achieve, and that's why he knew that Buffy was the chosen one, because obviously, like I said, if he was anyone else, he probably wouldn't know that. But it's almost like they came to Sunnydale for a reason, because Buffy obviously goes to school in Sunnydale and they probably needed her help. And we find out that Sid has already killed 6 of the Brotherhood of 7, and now he needs to kill the last one, and their basically goal is to steal human hearts and brains. And obviously now that they've got 2, they've got Emily and they've got Morgan, he needs to stop the last one before they can go any further. However, the only sad part about this is that when Sid breaks the curse and he kills the last one, then he will no longer be alive, because his job, his mission will be completed and he will no longer be alive, which is actually sad, because now I'm kind of starting to like Sid and I don't want anything to happen to him. But I guess that's what he has to do to obviously save people from these demons. Now that they figure out that the demon has everything it needs to complete this ritual, it will most likely happen at the talent show, and whoever is missing from the talent show, it will most likely be a suspect of who it is. And then Sid suggests to Giles to form this circle, this power circle, to figure out who is missing, so they can obviously go and stop them before they can complete what they need to do. And then we see that Buffy finds Morgan's brain, and Sid has gone missing at this point. And then the Scooby Gang, Buffy, Xander, Willow, realise that Morgan actually had brain cancer, and therefore they can't use Morgan's brain, and now that demon has to go and find someone else's brain. So it's almost, now they're having to obviously not only stop him, but also protect everyone from this demon trying to now find someone else to take control and take their brain. But the demon is not just looking for any brain, it is looking for a brain of someone who is smart, meaning that Giles and Willow are in danger, because as we know, they are both super smart and the demon will most likely come after them. And cut to the talent show and we see Mark tricks Giles into strapping himself and being part of his act, only to find out that Mark, the very untalented magician, is actually the demon, and this is his ploy to get Giles in a position where he can now take his brain. So as I mentioned previously, we knew that the demon wanted a smart brain, and obviously Giles would be the best option, and now Giles has basically just handed himself to him, and be like, yeah, here you go, take it, yeah, I'll just strap myself in. I don't know why he just easily did that, especially knowing that now they're trying to look for whoever the demon is, but he did that anyway. And yeah, now he's going to be trapped, and obviously Buffy has to come and save him. And just in time, it wouldn't be Buffy if the Scooby Gang didn't get somewhere on time to rescue Giles and save the day. And as we see, Buffy and Sid are now battling Mark, who has taken on a demon form. So he's no longer the magician, he's taken on his demon form, and they're battling him. So they're battling him, and then Xander's basically trying to keep Giles from getting his brain taken from him by the demon at the same time. And then Sid reveals to Buffy that in order to kill Mark, the demon, they have to stab him in the heart. And Buffy obviously offers to do that, being the Slayer, but Sid politely declines her offer and wants to do it himself, because if he does it himself, then like I said, he will be free. from this curse, and yeah, so he does it himself. And he's the one that kills Mark. And then just as the curtain is about to open for the talent show to start, Sid unfortunately dies because now he is free, which is sad obviously because we know he was trying to save the day, but we knew it was going to happen. And then Buffy, Willow and Xander perform their little talent show scene that they were doing, and then Xander forgets one of his lines and Willow just runs off stage. I'm probably embarrassed, but yeah, they're not very talented at what they do, so they should probably stick to being the Scooby Gang and fighting demons. But yeah, this is basically how this episode ends. It was a very entertaining episode. It was a good kind of mystery episode of who done it. Who is a demon? Is it this person? Is it this person? I like the way that we were led to think it was Sid and Morgan, and then only to realise kind of midway through that it wasn't. So I did like that about this episode. And it just reminds me of sort of my favourite classic horror films, so I like that. Obviously I do prefer watching more vampire focused episodes that we see more in later seasons, but this is a good stepping stone for introducing more characters that aren't vampires, so demon characters and stuff like that. And like I said before, with season 1 it was definitely about finding its voice, finding its tone. And let me know if you knew that it wasn't Sid from the first sort of time we're introduced to him, because I did not know. I always thought it was Sid, and every time I go back and rewatch it I almost forget that it's not Sid. And then I'm like, oh yes, it's not actually him, it's actually Mark. So let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode, and I will be doing more Buffy related episodes soon, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, thank you again for watching, and thank you to all my new subscribers as well, and all my returning subscribers, and see you guys in my next video. Mwah!